If they cared, they'd call, right? Not always. Here's the truth their silence is actually saying, whether you like it or not. At 6:41, I'll give you a one-line text that ends the confusion instantly. You text them, no reply. You call, no answer. But when you meet, they smile, they say, I missed you. And you can't help but wonder, if they missed me, why the silence? In love, silence is never empty. It can be a quiet storm of longing, a subtle punishment, a hidden test, or the final chapter written without words. Tonight we'll uncover the hidden truth in their silence, the part they'll never admit, the feelings they fear, and the reasons they leave you waiting. Because sometimes, what they don't say speaks louder than anything they could ever tell you. And once you hear it, it may change not only your relationship, but your heart forever. Number 1, silence as an emotional test. In relationships, not every question is asked directly. Sometimes it's tested. Silence can be that test, a quiet space they create to see what you will do. Will you chase them? Will you get angry? Or will you match their silence? For many women, this is not always about playing games. It's about observation. They want to know if you'll take the initiative, if you care enough to close the distance. Men, on the other hand, may retreat into silence when feeling pressured, overwhelmed, or emotionally conflicted. But for a man who is deeply invested, that silence is temporary, and he will eventually let you in. The problem begins when the silence becomes habitual. A test by nature happens once or twice, but repeated silence is no longer curiosity, it's a choice, and choices reveal truth. Understanding this helps you avoid the emotional trap. Instead of spiraling into anxiety, you begin to see the pattern for what it is. Then you can decide, is this a moment to be patient and reach out, or a moment to recognize you're being pushed away? In love, silence can be a stage. Sometimes it's where the heart waits to be proven right, and sometimes it's where the story quietly ends. Number 2, silence as emotional distance. In love, silence can feel like an invisible wall, one that appears slowly, almost without warning. At first, it's just a missed reply, then a conversation cut short, and before you realize it, the warmth you once shared feels out of reach. Emotional distance often hides behind silence. Sometimes it's unintentional. Life gets heavy, stress consumes their mind, and words no longer come easily. But in other cases, it's deliberate, a way of protecting themselves, or of protecting you from a truth they're not ready to say. When two people are deeply connected, silence doesn't feel empty. It feels safe. You can sit together without speaking and still feel close. But when that connection starts to fade, the same silence turns into a void, a space filled with doubt, overthinking, and loneliness. For men, this type of silence often comes when they feel they can no longer provide emotionally, mentally, or physically. For women, it may be a shield, a way to stop investing in something they fear is slipping away. The danger is mistaking this distance for just a phase. Sometimes it is, but other times, it's the first step toward detachment. If you sense their silence is no longer a pause, but a retreat, pay attention. Because once someone starts building a life in that quiet space without you, it's only a matter of time before you're written out of it entirely. Number 3, silence as unspoken hurt. Not all silence is distance. Sometimes it's pain. In relationships, hurt doesn't always come out in words. It can linger in glances, in pauses, in the messages they never send. The person you love may not be ignoring you. They may be protecting themselves from the vulnerability of saying, "You've hurt me." This unspoken hurt can come from betrayal, disappointment, or a deep unmet need. Instead of confrontation, they retreat into quiet. Not because they don't care, but because they care too much. Words feel dangerous when spoken in the heat of pain. So they wait. They hope the wound will heal on its own. But here's the truth. Silence rarely heals what words never address. Instead, it festers. Resentment grows roots in that quiet space, and by the time the silence breaks, the damage is already done. In men, unspoken hurt often hides behind a stoic front, acting fine while quietly pulling away. In women, it may show in subtle changes. Fewer calls, shorter replies, avoiding shared spaces that once felt safe. The tragedy is that both sides often misinterpret this silence, one thinking the other doesn't care, the other silently wishing they did. If you feel their silence holds the weight of hurt, don't answer with more silence. Approach with gentleness. Listen before you speak. Because sometimes breaking the silence isn't about finding the right words. It's about proving that you're willing to hear the ones they've been holding back. Number 4, silence as a test of love. Sometimes silence isn't about hurt, it's about truth. In love, there are moments when one person steps back, not to punish, but to measure. They want to see if you'll notice their absence, if you'll cross the distance without being asked, if your love exists without constant reminders. This test is rarely announced. It often comes after subtle doubts have taken root. Maybe they've been feeling like they care more. Maybe they wonder if you're only there when it's easy, so they fall silent, watching what you'll do when the attention isn't served to you on a silver plate. For men, this might look like pulling back their calls or texts to see if you will initiate. For women, it can be going quiet to see if you'll chase after their heart the way you did in the beginning. Here's the cruel beauty of it. Silence reveals more than words ever could. If you rush to bridge the gap, the message is clear. You're invested. But if you let the silence grow without action, you've answered the question they were afraid to ask. The danger, of course, is that these tests can become traps. Love built on constant proof is love under pressure, and no one can hold their breath forever. So if you sense their silence as a test, respond with clarity. Show up, but also speak up. Love isn't proven once. It's proven in the consistency of showing up without being asked again and again. Number 5, when silence means goodbye. There comes a moment in love when silence is no longer a pause. It's an ending. It's not the playful quiet of waiting for a text. It's not the wounded space where both hearts still ache for each other. This is a different kind of stillness, one that feels hollow. It's the moment when their silence stops asking for your attention and starts telling you they've moved on. You'll know it by the absence of energy. No matter how much you reach out, the warmth you once felt is gone. Their replies, if they come at all, are short, delayed, lifeless. Calls go unanswered. Messages are seen but ignored. And deep inside, you realize they're not too busy. They're just done. This is the hardest truth to face, that sometimes the person who once couldn't go a day without hearing your voice has decided that your chapter in their story is over. Not with a fight, not with closure, just with silence. But here's the thing. This isn't a loss. It's a reveal. The person who chooses silence over communication has also chosen themselves over you. And that's a choice you must respect, no matter how much it hurts. When silence means goodbye, your job is not to chase. It's to listen, to hear the finality in the quiet, and to gather the strength to walk forward. Because the truth is, the moment someone stops choosing you, the healthiest thing you can do is choose yourself. Silence can hurt more than words, but it can also set you free. Every pause, every unanswered call, every empty notification is not just absence, it's information. And when you learn to read it, you stop begging for explanations and start reclaiming your peace. If this spoke to you, don't just let it fade. Hit the like button so more people can find the truth they need to hear. Subscribe to join a community that dives deep into the hidden corners of love, psychology, and the human heart. And now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever felt the weight of someone's silence? Share your story in the comments. You never know. Your words might be the light someone else is searching for in their darkest moment.